My name is Margaret Robson, and I went to Oswin Avenue School in 1947. Well, I was the first one to be born in Doncaster. My brother and sister was both born at Mexborough. We lived at 36 Armitage Road, Bowlby. We had a snicket at the side of our house, so we used to see a lot of people passing. We lived with my mum and dad and my sister and my brother, but my brother was 12 years older than me, so I didn't see a lot of him. We never went out without each other. We used to push her in a wheelchair. She had about 10 or 12 operations on her feet. We looked after my grandma at the same time. She used to come and stop with us in the summer and then go and live with her other sister at Mexborough, because her husband worked in the colliery, and so they could have good fires. And we had her in the summer, and we used to push either my sister out or my grandma out. My dad he was a railway driver. My brother worked at the Windsor, and he was the first one to show the films there. He worked shifts, and as I say, I didn't see a lot of him because of the age difference. We were never short of food. I think probably because my mum made meals out of nothing sort of thing. She made a suet pudding with apples in, and we had that first, because she used to say there's not a lot of meat today. My dad worked on the railway, and he used to get sugar and tea. He used to buy it off the firemen sort of thing, because they didn't use it. So we were never short. I think because my mum managed, and then we used to have a man come to the door. He'd got an allotment, and he'd bring carrots and veg and what have you. And in them days she made her own bread. It was always stood in front of the fire. You know, I can't say that I ever went short. My Christmases was nothing like the Christmases that I had when I met Ted. The reason being, my dad had to work. He could go on to drive a train at any hour of the day. I can't remember a Christmas dinner with him, and I can't remember a Christmas dinner with my brother. When you get that 12 years difference, he would probably be out with his mates or something. So there was only my mum, my sister and I. But we always had a Christmas dinner. My dad's family came from Banbury, Oxfordshire, and mum and dad used to go down there and fetch a turkey or something, because they were farmers. I've carried rabbits. I've been with them and carried rabbits down the road like this, you know. And we had a few chickens in the back garden. We had a cockerel. We fattened it up, and it was in a orange box, and it didn't go out of this orange box for I don't know how long, but they fattened it up, and then my dad killed it, and he sat with thing round his mouth, and my mum and him used to pluck it. Christmases, as I say, when I met Ted, were very different, because all their family lived around. Well, we'd no family in Doncaster. My mum's was at Mexborough and my dad's were in Banbury. So Christmases were very lonely, really. You know, when I look back now, my mum did everything that she could. An apple, an orange and money in your stocking. But very different. I went to Waverley School first, and I went the first day, and the second day I didn't want to go. We had a four-legged table, and I sat on this cross underneath because my mum never shouted. I never heard her shout all her life. And the teacher shouted, and I didn't like it. Spelling mainly was my difficulty. I couldn't spell, I don't know. I managed to write things, but spelling was terrible. But I did my maths, I was good at maths. I remember the sirens going off. And at Waverley, we had to go in the air raid shelters, and they were very wet and damp and horrible. And at home, you had an air raid shelter between two of you. So we used to go next door, and it was fitted out with two benches at either side, and there was some kind of heating. I wouldn't like to say what it was, but we were never cold. And I mean, we went down there sometimes in the middle of the night. There was 2-3 steps down. I say now, we never had any books at home, but my mum never read to us, and I think that would have helped me now. But my mum would have been so upset if she'd have thought that, you know what I mean. Dad didn't, because he worked shifts, but there was only my sister that seemed to read. You know, we never had books. I read to the girls, and Dad read to them, you know. Oh yeah, we did hours of writing A and B and your alphabet right across a row. You did all A's, and then you did the small letters underneath all the way through your books. I like being neat. I was a monitor. We used to give pen and inks out and paper and things like that, and be prepared to collect them in and what have you for the teacher. I never stopped dinners until about the second year of senior school, and that went across the road into the huts, and there we had to sort of collect the dinners and take them back and what have you. When I first went to Ossie Avenue, we had our meals in the hall, and I can see the counters now where we used to have to queue up and go. And then later on, we used to have to go out of the girls' gates, cross the road, and then there was huts on the right-hand side. And they were cooked over there, I think. Well, there used to be 2 cookery classes. Miss Henderson, which I was in, and she was upstairs, and Miss Butts was downstairs. They had a room, a sitting room like at the back, and we had to go down there and sort of set the tables, as I suppose for his reports and what have you. And we did cookery sort of one week, and then we did washing another week, and we learned how to sort it all. And Miss Henderson had one of these pulley things, and we had to put them on there to dry. And I think that stands you for what you do now, sort of thing. Miss Butts was very different because of this sitting room. Their lot had to do the cookery. Well, we both had to do cookery one week. And we did everything that was in season, sort of. And you took it home. You had to take all the ingredients, and you took it home, and you were right proud of it. And I've always loved cooking. Made pies, made a Christmas cake, everything. I played netball. And we used to go to the town fields and play hockey. Once a week, I think that was. I wasn't any good at I went. And then later, there was a field across from Oswin Avenue, and we used to go and play on there, rounders and what have you. Side of the boys' side. Right. That was Wilson's buses down that, straight down out of the girls' school. But I've never heard it called Marshall's Field. I don't know. There was a bungalow there. I used to go and play with the girl there, and they had one of these double swings. You sat on at this end and sat on at that end, and we used to swing. But then at the boys' side, out of that big double gate, was the field. There was 2 fields, weren't there? Mm-hmm. While I was at Oswin Avenue, we went to the old baths. It is now where Tesco's is. And there was cubicles all down one side, 2 sides. I couldn't swim there. I didn't swim for a long time because you all started off at the little end. And with me being tall, when I moved up to the next depth of water, I learnt to swim straight away. I was catching my knees on the bottom of the 3 foot. So I was a long time learning to swim. But we went once a week. Yeah. I understood that we was one of the first classes to go on a week's holiday, well, Monday to Friday, to Island Hall. It was a youth hostel, and the bus broke down at Conisborough, but there wasn't the traffic that there is now. We just sat in front of the bus and had that photograph. And then we had to do a bit of prepping, like peeling potatoes or doing something like that before we went out. We had about 6 teachers. We slept in dormitories, and we went somewhere every day. We walked Mantor, which is a very famous thing around. We went to Cusworth, and we also, when Lady Bow Reservoir was dammed, we went through the tunnels that's underneath Lady Bow Reservoir. We all had to walk through it. It was just concrete. And it was a great experience, really, to do that even. And with no rough kids, no fighting. It all went very smooth, really. Well, we went to youth club. I went to night school for sewing, and I don't know what Ted went for. We met sort of dancing at youth clubs, only because they used to have a dance, shall I say, an Easter dance or something like that. And one of the teachers did like an evening class where we just, step forward, 1 step to the side sort of thing. So, and Ted was a lovely dancer. We did sequence dancing for years, and people used to get up and follow us, Yeah, we've always liked dancing. And we used to go to the court and then walk home. Ted, my husband, went to the same school at Oswin, and it was 2 separate sides. He went to night school for something, and I went to night school for dressmaking. I've always dressmade and sewn and knit, and I would have loved to have been a tailoress. I went to the co-op to have an interview, but it was the time that it was changing over from tailoring to ready-made things, and so they weren't taking anyone on. The jobs were very scarce again at that time. There were, as I say, there weren't many jobs, and I don't know whether you remember Ellen's. I just went for an interview there, got a job as a shop assistant and stayed there till I got married. Not very interesting. They sold everything. There was 3 floors, gents tailoring, material, curtaining, boys tailoring, ladies underwear, baby linen, wool, hosiery, hats, kiddies clothes and ladies clothes right at the far end. The top floor was lino, paint, hardware. And then at the side there was a ladies' shoes and there was a men's shoes just at the side. The shop shut down. I did part-time for so long, and then, as I say, the shop closed. I never went out to work. Well, you see, Ted had his own business, and I was here more or less to answer phones and look after. I had nobody up here to leave my children with. Very much. I've had a happy life even so.
If you would like to know more about the Ossie Through the Ages project, then please email me at Tony Armstrong 1959 @outlook.com. Thank you.